What we'll do now is we'll move on to part 3. And here in part 3 of the full moon releasing practice, what we're going to do is we're going to explore Capricorn themes and archetypes. We're going to dig into some brand new prompts around those themes and archetypes, and we're going to look at what is it we can let go, what have we been holding on to for too long, what is inhibiting our progress, where are we getting in our own way, basically, and how can we get out of our own way so that we can accomplish what we really want to accomplish in the area of our life that Capricorn inhabits in the sidereal natal chart. And so let's talk for a little bit about what is Capricorn. Capricorn is cardinal earth, so this is an active principle, but it's also a stable elemental principle, right? So this is, I would say you could call this sustained activity, sustained working towards, right? Saturn is the natural ruler of Capricorn, and Saturn is where we assign self-discipline, right, in astrology. And so self-discipline really is a sustained commitment to a practice, to an activity, to a goal, something that we're committed to over time. And it's really kind of interesting because Capricorn is my sidereal sun sign, and today, just this morning, I was setting up, I don't know if you're familiar with the 𝘊𝗵𝗶𝘀 app. I don't think it's even called 𝘊𝗵𝗶𝘀 anymore, but it has a bull as the icon in the App Store, and I think it's just called Habit now, but it's a habit tracking app that I used to use really religiously, and then I ended up breaking my phone and having to go to an old backup phone that I had. Didn't have as much memory, so I deleted all these apps off of it, and that was one of them. And then when I replaced the phone, I'm just now getting around to setting back up this habit tracker. But the habit tracker that I'm using is really, I mean, the idea behind that is about commitment to a set of practices, right? It's about self-discipline and maintaining that self-discipline over time to practices which are really beneficial. And so I would encourage you, if there's something that you would like to commit to as a practice or as a behavior or as a habit or anything in that regard with the full moon in Capricorn, I would encourage you, find a nice habit tracking or habit building app that would allow you to do the same kind of practice for yourself, where you can commit to whatever it is you're wanting to commit to, and then set up just an easy automatic way to help remind yourself of what you're committed to on a daily or just on a regular basis, and hold yourself accountable towards that, okay? But let's dig deeper into Capricorn. Capricorn, like I was saying, is cardinal earth. It's symbolized by the constellation of the goat fish, right? We think of it as the goat. Modern day, we've kind of shortened it to the goat. Historically, it was the goat fish. Capricorn as the goat is uniquely able to scale heights that no other animal is capable of reaching, right? And that's true for the symbolism that Capricorn represents also in our chart. As a cardinal energy, Capricorn represents the entrepreneur, that active principle, right? The doer, the builder. That's how it expresses that active principle, through a focus on results, a focus on outcomes, sometimes even a focus on consequences. And so an expression of his position as the final sign in the Earth series of signs in the zodiac, right? So Capricorn points specifically to our ambitions, where we're committed to seeing things through to the end, where we can be more dedicated in our lives and really show up with that kind of commitment and really show up with an attitude of responsibility. And so the Capricorn archetype is really around the builder. It's the archetype of the achiever. It's the archetype also of the administrator, so the one who is responsible for seeing an outcome come to pass, right? That executive function. So the prime minister is also an archetype of Capricorn. Capricorn is the wisdom that comes with experience, that culminates in success and recognition, okay? So Capricorn in that way is about what comes after we've put in all of the effort, after we've demonstrated sustained self-discipline over time. Capricorn is also the old soul or the mentor, right? And as the natural ruler of the 10th house, he can represent one of the parents, often the father. Capricorn as an archetype is also the hermit, which is weird because we give the 10th house the public life, right? So Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, otherwise known as Kronos, right? Father time. So Saturn, in his exaltation in Libra, dons the role of judge. And as the judge, he holds us accountable for our action or our inaction. He holds us accountable for our decisions. He points to where our responsibilities lie. And so in that sense, Capricorn is really about what comes after, right? This is where Saturn gets his reputation for being a karmic planet, right? It's rewards and consequences. And so Capricorn as the natural ruler of the 10th house represents both our ambitions and our achievements, but also potentially where we can fall from grace, where we can destroy our own status and our own reputation. Saturn, as the ruler of Capricorn, we consider him the celestial taskmaster, right? He's kind of that stern, tough love father figure. He gets a really bad rap, kind of breaks my heart. I really enjoy Saturn. I've come to terms with Saturn, and I really recognize that at heart, Saturn has our own best interests in mind. But Saturn also speaks to loss and sorrow and what we fear. And today that's something that I want to explore more specifically in depth with our prompts. Capricorn, especially via that 10th house association, represents our most public face, our reputation. Capricorn in that sense is about authenticity and integrity, right? Where you achieve alignment between your public life and your private life, right? Your public role and your private role and behavior. And you can consider that really in the context of, say, for instance, famous people whose public and private personas really don't align. So in that case, when that happens, when you're out of alignment, when you're out of integrity, when that private is made public, the reputation is damaged, right? A loss of status occurs. And that lack of authenticity, that lack of integrity ultimately has consequences. And that's kind of what I want you to keep in mind tonight. Richard Roberts says, sorry to be late. I'm Aquarius rising. How does the Aquarius full moon affect that? Richard, clarify for me. Are you Aquarius rising using the tropical zodiac, which is commonly used in the West here? Or are you Aquarius rising with the sidereal zodiac? That would be my question to you. And if you can shoot me an answer, I'm going to circle back around and see if I can kind of elaborate on that question for you and give you a little bit more insight. So I have some questions for you, and those of you who've been with me for a while may find some of these are familiar because we've covered them in past full moon and Capricorn releasing. Okay, so you're Aquarius and Sidereal. So for you, you're going to be feeling these effects primarily through the 12th house. So through your very most private life. And so this could be so for instance, the consequences around escapist tendencies, unconscious beliefs or behaviors or attitudes that you might carry. 12th house is also related to addictive behaviors, but also our spirituality, right? Our spiritual practice, our spiritual path, our spiritual lessons. And then for 12th house, this could also relate to the final outcomes of maybe a solo project that you've been working on. If you've been working on something just kind of on your own or in private or behind closed doors, you might be seeing that really kind of come to fulfillment or fruition now and seeing what the final outcome is really going to be like, if that makes sense. And if you joined us late, Robert, once the broadcast is over, you might even want to jump back in and catch the very beginning where I talk about this particular full moon and how it can kind of signify a fundamental transformation of a belief or an ideology or a long-standing worldview that we've been carrying. And especially with the 12th house, that can signify unconscious beliefs. And so you may identify an unconscious belief that you've been carrying for a very long time, maybe even as far back as childhood, that you've just really outgrown, or that doesn't really speak to your true authentic way of being in the world, that maybe you're ready to let go of with the full moon tonight. Okay. And so with our practice, these are the prompts that I have for you. I'm going to get my piece of paper. I had to scramble last minute because like I said, I'm rearranging and doing things a lot differently in a different part of my house now. And I almost started the broadcast without my trusty bowl and lighter and paper for doing the full moon releasing. So here we go. Some of these might be familiar. Like I said, some of them are new. Where are you avoiding taking responsibility in life? What are you avoiding taking responsibility for? Are you avoiding commitment in some way, shape, or form? To a thing, to a person, to an idea, to an objective, to an outcome? What are you continuing? This is a new one. What are you continuing to accept responsibility for that's really not your responsibility at all? What could you let go of if you are in that situation where you've been taking responsibility for something that's really not your responsibility? How can you move past that? How can you let go of that and let the person whose responsibility it really is take that on? And if that's the case for you, I would encourage you to do it if it's possible, right? Sometimes we take responsibility for people who just kind of can't take responsibility for themselves, right? Maybe they have some larger issue, but sometimes we do it for people who really can, and it's just kind of an enabling behavior that prevents them from standing up and taking responsibility and learning what they need to learn in their life. And in that case, it's really more of a kind of a codependent thing, and perhaps we need to move beyond it. What are you afraid of having associated with you? This goes to reputation or being known for. Where are you not in integrity or in authenticity in your life? And here's a new one related to that. What is it about your reputation that you can't let go of, or that you're struggling to let go of, or that you need to recognize you need to let go of, that's keeping you from evolving into the next better version of yourself? Another new one. What is it you want so much to be known for? And is it possible you've really outgrown that, and that holding on to an old, outdated concept of how you want other people to see you is limiting your growth and achievement, limiting your possibility, limiting your potential? And another new one is a fear of failing, keeping you from taking action in your professional life. That one's a big one for a lot of folks. Sometimes a fear of failing is easily confused with a fear of success, and where Saturn and Capricorn and 10th house are associated with achievement, especially our ambitions, achievement of goals, is a fear of success or a fear of failure really at heart of what's going on for you? If that's the case, I would explore and really kind of try to get a nuanced sense of which is it, because sometimes the one masquerades as the other. Okay? What behavior can you release that might help you come back into alignment, into integrity, and walk the walk? What are you fearful of that is preventing you from taking the next step? And here's some new things to chew on around that. Is it a fear of consequences? Is it a fear of loss of status or change of status? Is it a fear of making a commitment? Those are, I would say, the big three when we're talking Capricorn and Saturn. What is it that you're attached to that keeps you feeling safe so that you don't have to face that fear or accept responsibility? And this gets into the associations of loss, fear, and sorrow around Saturn and Capricorn. Okay. And then what is limiting you? Where are you avoiding obstacles or creating your own obstacles? Because sometimes we do that to ourselves. Sometimes we get so caught up in self-imposed limitations that we hold ourselves back. We stand in our own way. And if that's the case, I would encourage you to explore that and work with it and find ways to release those self-imposed limitations, or find ways to work around them, or find ways to maybe just drop them, you know, if maybe you can just let them go completely. And so here are a couple of new ones around that. Are you letting old accomplishments define you when instead a complete transformation of how you show up is what you really need in order to progress? This is really getting into the themes of this particular full moon and the potential that it holds for transformation of long-standing worldviews or long-standing ideologies or philosophies or ways of seeing things, right? Are your goals still in alignment with your desires, with what you want most to achieve, both personally and professionally? And are you potentially still working towards outdated ambitions or outdated goals that aren't taking you where you want to go in life? Maybe your values have changed, and maybe this full moon with the Sun conjunct Venus is where that really comes to light for you. And if that's the case, I would really strongly suggest exploring this particular prompt for tonight about whether the things that you want most are really what you're still working towards, and do you need to make some changes? Hey Danielle, it's good to see you with us. And finally, the last one, and this is also a new one. Do you perhaps need to rebuild from the ground up? And what is it that keeps you from taking action towards that, right? And in this case, if you do need to rebuild from the ground up, I would strongly encourage you, with it being a full moon in Capricorn, think structural integrity, right? Capricorn is going to speak very strongly towards if you need to rebuild a structure, you need to focus on the integrity of that structure and will it withstand the test of time. Okay? So what I want you to do is grab your pen and paper and write down whatever it is that you're fearful of, whatever it is that is holding you back, whatever it is that you're wanting to focus on releasing and let it go of tonight. And I'm going to recap these prompts real quick. But spend some time writing that down. I'll do the same, and when everyone's done, we'll circle back around and hopefully, if you're willing, share what you are letting go of with tonight's full moon in the comments. And then let me just quickly recap these prompts for whoever might be joining us late, or if you may have missed them, that way you can kind of get a refresher. So just quickly, where are you avoiding taking responsibility in life, or what are you avoiding taking responsibility for? Are you avoiding commitment in some way, shape, or form? What are you continuing to accept responsibility for that's not really your responsibility at all? What are you afraid of having associated with you or being known for? Where are you not in integrity or in authenticity in your life? And so in this one, we're looking at what is it about your reputation maybe that you can't let go of, that you keep yourself from evolving into the next better version of yourself by doing so. What is it that you want so much to be known for? And is it possible you've outgrown that? Maybe you're holding on to an old, outdated concept of yourself and how you want other people to see you, and maybe that's limiting your potential for achievement. Is there a fear of failing keeping you from taking action in your professional life? Or conversely, is there a fear of success keeping you from taking action, right? A fear of criticism and judgment. Those are two things that we strongly associate with Saturn. What behavior can you release to come back into alignment, back into integrity, and actually walk the walk in your life? What are you fearful of that's preventing you from taking the next step? Is it a fear of consequences? Is it a fear of loss of status? Is it a fear of making a commitment? Are you afraid of an outcome, a potential outcome? What are you attached to that keeps you feeling safe so that you don't have to face that fear or accept responsibility? And can you use this full moon to release that attachment? What are you afraid of losing? And is that fear holding you back? Sometimes when we lose something, it can be very liberating, because the fear that we associate with losing it disappears when we do lose it. That fear naturally has to be gone, because we step into a space where whatever it is we were afraid of losing is gone. What is limiting you? What are your self-imposed limitations? Where are you avoiding obstacles or creating your own obstacles? And can you get out of your own way? Are you letting old accomplishments define you when complete transformation would be more appropriate, especially around how you show up? And is that maybe what you need to do to progress? Are your goals still in alignment with your desires, with what you want most to achieve, both personally and professionally? And are you perhaps still working towards outdated ambitions that aren't taking you where you want to go in life? Maybe you need to rebuild from the ground up. And what is it that's keeping you from taking action towards that? Those are the prompts that we're working with tonight. And just as in always, you don't have to work with all of them. That would be too much to bite off in one releasing practice. But go with whatever speaks most directly to you and your experience and where you are right now. We'll all take a break for a few minutes and write out what it is we're wanting to let go of, and then we'll come back and share in the comments, and we'll do the actual releasing part, the letting go of. So if everyone wants to grab a pen and your paper and get started, and we'll come back to it. I'm going to grab a pen here. Anyone needs a few more minutes, let me know. Mine, of course, is 8th house, being Gemini ascendant. And some of you know this, some of you don't. I actually kind of want to apologize, because I don't think that I have been serving all of you as well as I like to. And as well as I have in the past, at least in these last several months. The reason I say that, some of you know this, some of you don't, I have recently been through a divorce. And so my life has kind of gone through this bit of upheaval. The Gemini Sagittarius eclipse series has really been wreaking havoc in my life. Even since the beginning of the year, since the very first eclipses that we were having back in early January. And so quite recently, so today I'm 14 days into being divorced. This is brand new for me. And so I'm going to use this full moon in Capricorn as an opportunity to work with that new financial picture, that new financial situation in which I find myself, where there's now a break point where someone else's resources, the partner's resources, right? This is an 8th house matter, are no longer available to me. But at the same time, I'm also no longer jointly responsible for the partner's debts. And so I really am feeling drawn to work with this right now, because especially in an 8th house way, to me, this really speaks to an opportunity to heal. And that's really where I kind of want to take this. And if you're comfortable, I would encourage you, share what you're letting go of in the comments as well, because often that can that can inspire the rest of us in terms of how we approach and leverage the new and full moon energies as well for ourselves. And so here's what I wrote on my paper today: that I release any sense of or feelings of responsibility for any debts for which I'm no longer responsible. I release any and all attachments to or fears of loss of access to others' resources, which may prevent me from accessing and tapping into my own inner personal abundance, right? Because fear can keep you from, it can act as a block, right? And I don't really want to create any blocks for myself, especially around unresolved fears of loss, right? I accept, so here's where I'm releasing responsibility for, right? And now I'm going to step into responsibility for by saying I accept responsibility for my own personal financial future, and especially for long-term financial outcomes. And I open myself to aligning in integrity with my financial responsibilities, both new and old. And I invite financial healing into my life. That is what I've written down on my paper here. And so what we do, whatever it is that you have written down, whether that's something you're fearful of or something that's holding you back, whatever it is you want to let go of, well, you will state aloud your intention to release it and then destroy your paper. Now, I typically burn mine. You can tear it up into little shreds. It doesn't really matter which way you go, although I will tell you that if you burn it, make sure it's burned completely. And I will also reiterate, as I do every time, if you burn it, please be fire safe in the way that you approach this practice. So if you have a fireplace or a fire pit, you can burn it in a place like that. If you have a fire extinguisher that you can keep handy, I recommend you do so, but please be smart and fire safe about burning what it is you're letting go of on your piece of paper. And I want you to make your statement as you state, I release any sense or feelings of responsibility for debts which I'm not responsible. I release any attachments I have to other people's resources or money. I am releasing these attachments, these fears of loss, these responsibilities which no longer serve me. I'm releasing them with gratitude for the lessons that they brought me while they were in my life. And that's really what I want to encourage you to do in your practice, is release it with gratitude, because whatever it is that was in your life, even if it's no longer serving you, it served a purpose while it was there. These things, when we're doing the releasing practice, in nearly every case, there's something that served to protect us in some way from something. And so give it your gratitude, send it off with a fond farewell, but send it off, right? The releasing is the important part. And thank it for the lesson that it brought while it was in your life, right? Because if it didn't serve a purpose in protecting you, it served a purpose in bringing you a lesson which was vital to your own personal growth and development. So you can spend, once you've done your releasing, like I said, make sure, look at that. It was just ready to go. It went all up at once. It's just this nice, like, it's crazy. It was this, well, until I picked it up, this complete piece of paper, fully intact. But once you're done with your releasing practice, I really encourage you, spend a few moments in quiet meditation. Remember, especially with the full moon in Capricorn, remember that what other people think of you is none of your business, right? You have the power to define success on your own terms. Your life energy is yours, and you alone get to decide how it's spent, right? And you alone get to decide what you want to achieve with your life energy. And so keep that in mind as you move forward. Now, typically when we have a full moon, we end up experiencing kind of a period of rest in that house in our chart. Typically over the coming 6 months or so, before we have another new moon in that sign, in which case we see a new thing come into our lives for expression, for experience, for what have you. So don't be too gung-ho about trying to figure out what the next thing is that you want to start in this part of your life. Just take a breather, give yourself a break, and allow time for that to kind of ferment, right? Because whatever is most appropriate for you to begin next in this part of your life, wherever you find Capricorn in your sidereal natal chart, it will naturally move into that space as time passes and as we move into the next full moon in Capricorn, the next new moon in Capricorn, which will be coming in about 6 months, okay? And so I don't really have a whole ton in terms of announcements for you other than the August overview and short reports, such as they are up on the website. I was delayed getting those up. Thank you so much for your patience. I also did finally put July up. I know July is past, but I also know that some of you may want to go back and read what I had written for July. July is not, in my sense, really fully fleshed out. I have my dog in the studio today. My studio is upstairs, and she's scritching at her collar, and that's making my phone just kind of bounce up and down. So if you're getting seasick, I totally apologize. If you want to go back and look at July, because sometimes July can be related to August, whatever happened in last month sometimes is specifically relevant to this month, and especially where we had eclipse season in July, and eclipse is having an effect for up to 60 days. That may still be relevant for some of you, and so I would encourage you, if you need to go back to July, please do so, even though that was posted quite late. And I will invite you, stay tuned for announcements about the 2020 Ultimate Astrological Planner. I've had to shift my schedule a lot lately. I've got new things on my plate that were never on my plate before, and so I'm kind of working into what shape does this new life take, and how do I get everything arranged and sorted. So thank you for your patience in that regard. However, stay tuned, because the Ultimate Astrological Planner for 2020 will be available for pre-order very soon, and there are some new exciting changes coming to it. I really can't wait to show you once I can get some actual samples to show you all the new stuff that's in store for the Ultimate Astrological Planner going forward. And so also I'll invite you, join me on the 26th, coming up at month end at 1:30 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, 8:30 p.m. British Summer Time, and 5:30 in the morning if you're in Australia. 5:30 in the morning on July, well, that would be the 27th. We'll have the next live broadcast of Sidereal Insights Astro Update on the Mystic Physick Astrology Facebook page, so join me for that. And then I will also invite you to subscribe to the YouTube channel. And if you do that, you might want to click on the notification bell icon so that you get notified whenever I upload a new video. And I'm going to post a link to that after I jump off the broadcast, because I notice I have an old link in my notes carried over from last year, from before I rebooted the channel. I had to start fresh with the new channel and start from scratch. I don't want to give you the old link to the old channel because I'm not posting there anymore. So I want to make sure I give you the link to the new channel, and I'll do that as soon as I hop off. But thanks everyone for joining me. Thank you, Richard. I'm so glad to have you. Thank you, Danielle. If anyone would like to share in the comments what they're letting go of tonight, please do. I'd love to see what you are ready to move on from in your life, so that you can invite something new into whichever house Capricorn falls in your chart. And thanks so much for joining me. We'll see you again next time.